Hello everybody, it's me, Nikki, and today I'm here to review 4 books that I got off of NetGalley. I used to do some reviews, but then Adobe 4.5 stopped working, so I couldn't open any of them. And then I just re-downloaded Adobe 3, I think, and it works, but a lot of the books, I couldn't re-download them, so I'm starting over. And I'm gonna try to read as many as I can in a month. And I thought I would just talk about 4 of them or however many at a time. So let's get started. The first book I read is called Forgotten Women, The Leaders. It's part of a 4-book series called Forgotten Women, which are also about writers, artists, and scientists. All of the books are written by Jing, I think, is how you pronounce that. This particular book, The Leaders, is broken up into 5 categories: rebels, warriors, rulers, activists, and reformers. And it's just, mini biographies about each woman. It's kind of like Bad Girls Throughout History, which I think I've talked about before. I really enjoyed the book. It had biographies on women that I had heard of, like Hatshepsut, Ida B. Wells, Grace O'Malley, and a couple others. But then it also had women that I'd never heard of, like Dora Shafik, Anna, I have it little written here, Anna Aona, I know I butchered that, and Lillian Nyong'gi, I butchered that as well, I apologize, who each did different things. So the rebels rebelled against, the ruling class, the warrior women, and you had the rulers like Hatshepsut, the activist women who tried to make things better, and then reformers who also tried to make things better. I did like learning about all of the women, and it made me want to learn more about them. Because they are many biographies, they didn't go into like a lot of detail. It basically gave like birth and death dates, if there were a death date, like what happened a little bit about what happened when they were young, and then what they did as adults. So that's like something to look into, but a lot of them are, well, not a lot of the women, some of the women are historical, so they're ancient, so there's not a lot of historical records, like Hatshepsut is only like being learned about a lot now. And I would definitely recommend this book to anyone who wants to learn about women and what they've done. Because it's cool and badass. And then if you're interested, you get to go look up more about them, The next book I have is Not a Gentleman's Work, which is by Gerard Coppel. I think that's how that's pronounced. It's a non-fiction true crime book set in the 1800s. I believe it's after the Civil War, but I can't quite remember. It's about the murders of 3 people on a ship. The captain, Charles Nash, his wife, and the second mate. And what it tells about, like, the people on the ship, and then it tells about the murders, sort of. And then it says about what happened after the murders. And only 3 men could have done it because they were not, one was sleeping, one and then 2 were not seen at the time of the murders. The first mate, Thomas Bram, was convicted twice, but eventually released on parole and pardoned, so now the case is unsolved. And I tried to Google this, there's like practically nothing, just a couple of articles, so nobody's talking about this. A lot of things in the book, Copel says that he believes that one of the men, Lester Monks, the passenger, was his likely suspect because he was a rich white man who had a wealthy, connected family, and so he wrote a lot of the stuff down, and because of that, things were overlooked about him personally, and perhaps his explanations. There is another black man on the boat besides Bram, who we'll go back to, and he was the cook and nobody ever suspected him, but Bram, he had an African background, like his parents were, I don't know if they were slaves, but they were definitely of an African background in, I think it was St. Kitts, but he was very white passing, so, and he said he was white, and I think that's maybe why they blamed him, because everybody knew he was of an African background, but he claimed to be white and they didn't like that. That's just me. And then the other crewmen were white, but they didn't speak English very well, so Monks did a lot of the talking for everybody. So I actually really enjoyed this book. Like I said, there's nothing out there about it. This is the only thing I've, like, as soon as I started reading it, I'm like, I have to know more, and this is it. You know, like I said, Google doesn't bring up very few, and there aren't a lot of results on Google, and a lot of the bibliography referenced is actually in Boston, because that's where it took place, and it took place also, I want to say New York, because they were on a ship delivering something to South America, but because of the murders, they went back up. They passed Boston, I want to say. So, you know, if you like true crime and you like not well-known true crime, I would definitely recommend this. However, there are graphic details of the 3 murders. Oh, excuse me. And there's even a mention of a vomit and somebody slipping in it. So, yes. But I would definitely suggest it. And the 3rd book is Rebel Spy by Veronica Rossi. This is a fictional historical fiction of Spy 355, who was a real female spy during the Revolutionary War. And that was just her code name, and there was never a name associated with her, so they don't know anything about her. And they don't even really know who she spied upon, or what information she gave. And 355 just means lady. So a lot of people, I think it was in there was that TV show, I want to say Turn of the Something, about George Washington's spies on AMC, and they had 355 be a black servant who would go unnoticed by people, and that's sort of what's happening here. The main character is of the upper class variety, so, you know, men tell her things not expecting her to understand it, and she does. It's a war novel. It's set during the middle of the Revolutionary War. So there are hints of that, and the loyalists are pretty like, yeah, let's murder all the revolutionaries, so that's kind of in there. There is a scene of press ganging early on, which is pretty brutal and violent, and one of the characters is beaten, and I said it was toned down, but I'm not sure. I think press ganging was actually like pretty violent. There's also a prison of war ship, which it's as nasty as it sounds. It was a real ship, and apparently another, I don't know if it was another Washington spy, but some woman rescued like 200 people off of the boat, and it's basically they keep them in the bay, and they let them starve and die. And there's also mentions of past rapes done by the Redcoats on American women. And the main character's stepfather almost assaults her. He is violent towards her. And I really liked the book. And it is different than what I was expecting, but I liked that. It is a YA because the main character is 16 to maybe 15 to 18. So, you know, you have your regular tropes of falling in love fast, two men loving the same woman and hating each other. But they're not horrible, you know, they're not like, they don't overshadow the plot, because the plot is the main part of the book, and the character goes around trying to be a spy and doing her best to get the information to Washington. Though there are a few characters that are based on real people, which was fun. The main character is interesting. I really enjoyed her. Her friends are fantastic. And I just love all the people surrounding her. It's just a really fun book, and I would recommend it. Yeah. I think it's not for everybody. So if you don't like historical fiction, probably not for you. There's not a lot of spying going on. And it's just not even really spying. People are just sort of telling her things, and then they don't expect her to tell anybody else. So she's not like eavesdropping on conversations or anything like that. Fix that while I'm here, and I can see myself. And then the final book, and I thought this was fun, that all 4 books I'm talking about are historical. This is Mad and Bad, Real Heroines of the Regency by, I did not say, I believe it's B. Koch. Koch. And it is about the women of the Regency era, which is 1810 to 1820, and it's another set of mini biographies. And then before that, there's also a short explanation of what each chapter is going to be about, and what it's going to explore. Some of the women I'd heard of: Mary Seacole, Anne Lister, Mary Anning, of course your famous ones like the Duchess of Devonshire, and a couple others who I'm now blanking on. But a lot of the women I didn't, which was fantastic. I love learning about women I didn't know. I didn't know about Anne Mee, Jane Marcet, Anne Dahmer, or Judith Montefiore, and they were all fantastically interesting. And it was interesting to read about all these different groups of women, and then it was just 10 years, and they all had an effect on those 10 years, and then, you know, the years after. And it's broken up into 8 chapters. So you have the women who ran the social circle of the era. So basically they knew everybody. You have the royals, the 2 queens and the princess. The famous mistresses, who just happened to be more than mistresses. Artistic women, scientific women, queer women, black women, and Jewish women. And then at the end of each chapter, there's actually a recommended reading / viewing. So you can like read other books, watch some movies, documentaries. There's also pictures of like the paintings they talk about, and when they talk about the artists, they show the art. I had an arc, however, so some of my pictures were missing. Sad. I think all of these were arcs as well. And yeah, I really liked it. And you know, it's all of these women had something to contribute to society. And like a lot of your scientific women, the artistic women got away with a lot more because it was like, you know, they were artists. It was okay. But the scientific women got a lot of shit. You know, they were like, oh, she was just helping her brother or her father, when, you know, a lot of them were doing things on their own. The queer women got a lot of shit. And of course the black and Jewish women as well. I also learned there was another Mary Berry who was a writer. And I was like, that's weird that 2 women have the same name like that. So that's fun. And I would definitely recommend this if you like the Regency, because it gives it more depth and real life, because most of what people know is from movies or like Jane Austen books. So yeah, I would recommend all 4 of these books, especially if you like history, obviously. So yeah, that's my video. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're having a lovely day, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.